Hey, it's Irreverent Aegis here, and in this video I'm going to walk you through the Mountain God achievement in Veteran Scalecaller Peak. That is the Trifecta achievement, so it's the hard mode, the speedrun, and no death, all simultaneously. The first time people normally get the hard mode completed here, they think, how do people do this without dying? And it's not as bad as it seems. The more reps you get, the easier it becomes. So hopefully I can give you some tips for getting this achievement done. As you're probably aware for this first boss, if the two ogres overlap, there's a big poison circle that goes around each of them, and that's a big problem because it does a ton of damage really quickly and will kill people. So the tank's job is to hold the Orzen boss on the outside. Now we alternate between the snow tremors, which you need to jump into an ice circle to avoid dying, and the ice pillars, which you need to hide behind. Pro tip, make sure you turn off the slippery ability in your red champion tree if you have it on, because you will automatically break free and kill yourself during that phase if you have slippery on. Other than that, your DPS are going to split up in this fight, and one is going to take the center one and the other one's going to take the outside one. It's best to kill them simultaneously, as if you kill one, it gets rid of the protection that the other one provides. But other than that, pretty quick and easy fight. The next two trash pulls are fairly straightforward. For this first one, again, you just make sure you don't line up the ogres as they put out a poison AoE when they overlap. The next ad pull before the boss involves 3 gargoyles. Easiest and safest way is to pull one at a time, but if you're feeling frisky like my group normally is, we just try to kill all 3 of them at once. This time it was weird, something strange happened and we only pulled 2 of them, but whatever. Doylemish is probably the most annoying boss here because at various percentages you get spheres, and the spheres turn people to stone. So if you push the boss too quickly, you get too many spheres, people get stoned, and then they instantly die if they don't get broken free, or if you don't get the bash on the boss right away when they do get turned to stone. The safe strategy here is that I should actually hold this boss in the corner, and we should burn him, kill an orb, burn him, kill an orb. But my group didn't do that at all because we were in here too many times and we got bored. So if you're looking for the safest strategy to do this boss with, then this is the wrong video, because really, this is going to teach you more about the final hard mode and how to survive that than any of the individual fights. But like I said, you can just burn him slowly and deal with the orbs, and the tank holding him behind me in that very far corner makes it impossible for me to get hit by one of those other lasers. So that's the best way to do it if you want to play it safe. That way you can avoid any of the mechanics. Now, the other tip that I can give you, if somebody does get turned to stone, then as the tank, you should bash Doylemish like I did right there to prevent them from dying. That will buy you a few seconds for another DPS to run over them and hit the synergy, freeing them from the stone. And then the other thing I recommend is once somebody is stoned, they call out stoned, and then once they're free, they say free. That way everybody's communicating that everything's taken care of. Between there and the next boss, you have some more trash pulls. You have a lot of skeevers putting poison everywhere. You have this bridge to run over. And then you have the giants and the Lamiids, which the Lamiids will put a big eruption on the ground if you don't kill them fast enough, which really prepares you for the next boss. For the next boss, of course, we use the cheese strategy, and I will show you that pretty much right here. As the tank, you're going to grab the Matriarch. The DPS are going to stand on this ice block behind me, and as soon as the Matriarch jumps, I'm going to roll dodge forward, effectively putting her on that middle ice block between me and the DPS. Anything you need to do, just make sure you roll dodge that heavy attack, and then depending on the group DPS, you can drop ultimates at 70%, 60%, 50%, whatever. Just make sure that the healer drops a barrier when everyone else drops their ultimates, because when everybody explodes here, there might happen to be another AoE that can kill people. The barrier prevents that from happening. So anyway, this is the cheese strategy. You avoid all other mechanics. 100% Shia Gorath approved. While you're watching these trash pulls, I'm going to go over the tank gearing and the healer gearing. I am wearing Arkasis and Drake's Rush as part of my ultimate Aegis build, and the healer is wearing Arkasis and Master Architect. That's right, we are doing double Arkasis, and we call that the ultimate Aegis plus strategy. And it works particularly well in boss fights where there are different phases where you can't just burn the boss from 100 to 0, and you actually need to hard or soft lock, or have different mechanics that go on at different percentages. It works really well because for every phase, now you have ultimates to drop, because the ultimate generation is really quick It's really insane, actually. So now everyone has ultimates exactly when you want to have them to burn through the different phases quickly. For the fourth boss, the Plague Concoctor Morteau, the most important thing is that the tank runs over to these different poison wells and stands on them and blocks as they are about to explode or go off. Other than that, pretty much the DPS stack on the boss. You can maintain aggro as the tank, even though if you lose it, really not that big of a deal, and you'll get hit with various debuffs throughout the fight. As that happens, some guy on the sideline, probably Jorvold, that's probably his name, he's going to call out what ads to kill, so you can kill those ads, and then after you kill those ads, after a certain amount of time, you're going to get an antidote that everybody stands on. The antidote removes all of the debuffs, and it gives you extra power or something like that, and everyone can drop their ult at that time. If you have good DPS, you'll pretty much only need to deal with one of those phases. Sometimes you can burn it down during that if you have really good DPS, if you're doing a 3 DPS strat, or if you're using like the Atomic Aegis strategy, he'll go down really fast. If you have a little bit slower DPS, no big deal, you can just go through 2 phases instead of 1 phase. So here we're going to pretty much get the boss almost dead during this phase, and then we'll kill it shortly thereafter. So nothing much to this fight, just follow the basic mechanics that the tank needs to follow, and the DPS will just kill down the ads that are told. Last up, we have the hard mode, so nothing between the 4th boss and the final boss. The only thing that I recommend doing is I change to race against time on my front bar, because the ice Atro actually will snare you if you walk into any of his ice AoEs, then you get snared and it slows you down. So I put on race against time to get rid of the snare and make me immune to it. That makes me a lot more able to get out of the poison areas if I'm in them. It also enables me to go block Zaan's attack a lot quicker when I need to get over to it. So again, race against time, just like in March of Sacrifices, hard mode, was kind of the MVP for me in this fight. In the beginning of this fight, everybody ulti dumps all of the ads. I aggro all of them. I know a lot of strategies, the tank doesn't aggro everything. I aggro all of them because it's safer. So I aggro everything, we ulti dump, that gets down the 2 ads very quickly, and then I just stand here. If I stand really up against the dragon statues, I can never get hit by the laser or by the ice that is going around. There are 3 synergies that are going to be going around. There's going to be the poison well when the Lamia dies, there's going to be the ice when the Atra dies, and then 2 will come up after this phase. By this phase, of course, I mean what happens at 80, 60, 40, and 20% boss health. That's when we get those ice dudes that come up around. To survive that, healer should just put out some big AoE hots, like regen, and the DPS should have divided up the room in advance to know which sections are the priority for each one. That way you can kill them quick enough. If you don't kill them quick enough, then it pretty much is an instant wipe. When you come out of each of those phases, everybody needs to take one of the 4 synergies. So again, this should be communicated in advance, which people are taking the ice, which person's taking the poison, which person takes the shield that comes out after you kill the ice dudes, and which person grabs the laser. It's very important that during the fight, nobody steps into a synergy. If you take the laser, it's not that big of a deal, it comes back. But if anybody takes the ice synergy or the poison synergy too early, then it's going to mean a death, and obviously that's a problem if you're going for Mountain God. After each ice phase, Zaan is going to run into the shield and smash into it, and then after that, she is going to almost every time start her Zaan's mechanic. So you can see right now that she's running over to where the shield was and smashing that area to break the shield, and now she's going into her Zaan's mechanic. So as the tank, it's very important you know where she is. She will always face the person she's about to hit. So you can hit your race against time, roll dodge over there, and go block it. If you don't get there in time, somebody's probably going to die. Whenever she does the Zaan's mechanic, or the mechanic where you need to kite the flame around, it's very important that you call out, or someone in your group calls out when it's about to end, and tells everyone to get in their lanes. Because as soon as it ends, what usually happens is you get one of those poison cones that go out. Of course, by the lanes, I mean those positions that straddle the line between the dragon heads. If anybody takes the ice or the poison, and it's not right after an ice giant phase, someone's going to die because those don't come back. That's not the same of the laser, however. If that happens, the best thing to do is for that person to call out that they've been turned to stone. And then everyone else needs to not panic. Because if you get hit with one of the poison cones when you're stoned, it actually breaks you out of it rather than kills you. So it's okay to be stoned for a little longer than a few seconds. Now, if you're the tank and you get stoned, however, somebody should break you out as soon as possible. Of course, they should wait for the poison cone to go by and then go free you. Now, the reason why it's important to break the tank out as soon as possible is because while the tank is stoned, it is possible to still be heavy attacked and killed by Zon, as you can't block when you're stoned. At 20%, you'll get the final phase with the Frost Giants. As soon as it ends, it's very important that everybody does not get overly excited and does the mechanics by getting into the proper synergy. And then right afterwards, as the tank, I'm going to pick up the 2 ads, and I'm going to taunt Zon, and then I am going to tell everyone to kill Zon and focus her only, because we don't need to worry about the ads anymore. And of course, we're going to get one more Zon's mechanic, so I'm going to run in front of that and just make sure I block it for the easy execute at the end. If you can't quite finish off Zon during the mechanic, make sure somebody calls out to get back in your lanes as it's ending, that way nobody dies to the poison at the very end. If you enjoyed this video, please like it or leave a comment, and for more content like this, please hit the subscribe button.